The year was 2011. A boy still had his rock star hair. Also stopped wearing bandanas in the form of headbands after a street gang rolled up. Told a nerdy boy he was wearing the wrong colors. It was a rainbow I was wearing on my head, so I was quite confused about what colors I was actually supposed to be wearing. But nonetheless, before a guy who'd committed to finding a place we could stay, instead secretly moved in with his new, for a month, girlfriend, I was on the streets again. But at the very least, he'd spent over $10,000 on Yu-Gi-Oh cards and had all these useless duplicates. He'd asked if I'd wanted them. I said sure, I could use them for filter tips in my joint. The reality was that I just didn't smoke joints, and so I had some 2,000 to 3,000 useless Yu-Gi-Oh cards at the end of the day. 8 years passed, and I was finally exiting backcountry. My brain had calmed down enough that I could finally start organizing everything in my life. One day I decided to do something with them. They had to be worth at least $5 for the years of space they'd managed to accumulate. A fixed point in my space-time continuum where a boy wasn't using them for their intended purpose, but still couldn't bring himself to just recycle them or whatever. But by this point, gravity had also done some work on a boy's carelessness of useless cards. If gravity ruined these cards, gravity could sure as well fix them. I began the work of sorting, scanning, and putting the value to each card, creating themed decks. I'd always just wanted a themed deck like I'd seen in the shows, one filled with dinosaurs or something. Life and the creators weren't so kind to a boy who wanted that, and I'd wanted that just about as much as a rare card. I'd come up with what seemed to be fair for this whole ordeal, pretty much $5 a pack if you bought more than 3. Just get them out of here, while putting some extra random cash in my pocket for one of my projects, $1 at a time, now that I'm in control. Like most things you'll find in life, what goes on in your brain and what happens in reality are two vastly different things. I'd never taken into consideration the trading card game landscape had changed vastly over the years. It didn't seem like the kids were picking up on it. My little brother briefly picked up the cards and set them down a week later. So I'd given him all my good ones, Blue Eyes, Dark Magician. I wasn't even sure how to take those rare cards and make it fair throughout the deck. Some packs were just going to be a bust if I did such things. So I just made these basic packs instead. 50 monsters, valued at approximately $15 per pack, selling them for $5. The good news is that I have managed to sell some. I made a deal with a guy, 10 packs for $50, but for some reason he thought that $5 packs were going to contain rare cards or something crazy, considering the ad specifically said monsters only, and even though I hadn't played in years, even I knew the most valuable cards were generally magic cards, your monster reborns when they'd become tournament regulation from time to time. But I told him that I didn't want him to feel screwed over. I'd be more than willing to make a stop next time I was back in the city if he'd wanted his money back. The world already screwed people over enough, but he conceded when I said in the end the $50 was going to support a non-profit dream I have. He got a ton of debatably useless cards. I could tell calculating them at the time that Dark seemed to be the hot product for tournaments. So I didn't make a couple $1,000s, unfortunately. I've conceded to the 10 packs for 50, so I will only make about $300 in total, but I still think that's something. Not only for having held on to something useless for 8 years, the fact that they were those penny cards that I had made something off of, and at the end of the day, came from a guy who'd left me to wander the streets again, while he'd given me the cards he'd initially spent over $10,000 on. It was those kinds of themes and ironies that just cracked me up on the other side of backcountry.